one of the most underwhelming games you will ever witness in your life. That was so disappointing. The hype, the atmosphere, the pre-match build-up for this game, the headlines that we've been grabbing, 100 million spent, 80 million spent, 30 million spent, how all these players are going to hit the ground running, how everything is just going to go smooth, how Operation Top 4 is on the cards, and we put in a performance like that. Now, there's a lot to unpack from this game. Of course, you can't be throwing your toys out the pram after one game, but to me, it was just a real significant moment that despite all the hype and all the expectation that Chelsea really failed to deliver anything. It wasn't like we created some chances and we were unlucky. Like, I just felt like we were so toothless once again, and we just show no signs of like being galvanized or rallied by any of the changes that are happening, and they almost seem to be having an adverse effect on this team. The more and more we splurge, the more and more we try and throw money at the problem, it just seems to me that we're never going to get it right, because there are some players in this squad, in this team, that are just not playing well and don't want to change their fortunes, turn the club's fortunes around on the pitch, because it's just game after game I'm seeing poor performances from some of the same individuals, and it's just unexcusable at this point. You've got these new signings coming in, and they must be looking at some of these players and the way that they're playing like, what is going on here? Like, there's so much to unpack from this game. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. I guess the only place to start is, of course, with ENZO Fernandez. Straight in everything that ENZO Fernandez did in that first half and that first 60 minutes. I was just watching closely, and I must say I was happy with what I saw. You can clearly see he ticks at a different frequency. His brain and the way he does things is far quicker than what we've had in that position with Jorginho, and how slow and laboured he can be. You can already see how Enzo is going to make things tick so much quicker. He gets the ball, he passes it, he sprays it, he scans 2-3 times before he does it. He knows where the space is, he knows where to run into, he's always moving. And I just think that, okay, it's a one-game assessment, and I'm texting my friends who are rival fans, and they're like, you're getting too excited. But I just found it refreshing to see someone with that intensity in that position, because that's what we've been missing. I think it's going to be key who we partner with him in that area, in that double midfield pivot, or whatever system we play. Whoever he's going to be close by, I think is going to be really key to how effective he is, because there are a couple of times he is caught out of position because he does like to go forward. You know, he might lose the ball at times, but he's always trying things, and he's got that tenacity that we've been missing like massively. So for me, I'd like to see him pair with Dennis Zakaria. From what I saw last night, I do feel like we need a bigger presence in there if we're going to let little Enzo run around and try and create. But I was very impressed with him, and just the whole atmosphere of him being there. It was exciting stuff, honestly. Anyone in the stadium, like, drop a comment, but that seemed like it was a very exciting pre-match build-up and first half to take part in. And then we also have to talk about Mykhailo Mudryk. Now, Mudryk, first home game at Chelsea, you know, he came on it against Liverpool at Anfield, and he lit up, and I made a video about how exciting he was and how unbelievable he was. And he was a bit underwhelming. I do feel like he didn't quite get the service, and he couldn't quite get into the game to be able to affect it. So I saw a lot of people talking about how, the lights are too bright, he's having a bad game. But to me, it was just that he couldn't really affect the game because of the system we were playing. I saw all the signs of him willing enough to try and get into those positions and run into them. But the service into him was just too slow. And let's face it, the guy behind him is probably one of the worst signings Chelsea have ever made. Marco Correa is who he's got behind him to link up with. Also Mason Mount, who's having absolutely poor string of games at the moment. Going to get onto that in a second. But I felt like Mudryk just couldn't quite link up with people. And that obviously comes with being thrown in the deep end. All these players just being bundled together and expected to make it work so quickly. That was clearly a sign of how that cannot work straight away, and how you need time to gel in. And you need to understand the players you're playing around, and when to go, when to move, when to take the ball. And that was a sign of that. And, Mudryk coming off at half-time was an interesting one, but I thought it was a bit harsh to hook him at half-time. I hope it wasn't a hook and it was just more like rotation. We need to give these different players game time. But I'm not sure that would have done wonders for his confidence. I would love to have seen him make a 90 minutes, especially after, 2 weeks ago, Mudryk was the signing that we had all been lamenting and being like, oh my God, like, I can't believe we've managed to snatch him from Arsenal. He's going to light it up for us. And it's almost been overshadowed by this Enzo deal, just that, a mere week later. But it's going to be an interesting one to see how he develops, for sure. And then also we've got to talk about the other starlets that came on, Madueke and Fofana. Now, Madueke was just that clear sign of raw talent that you're going to see. Like, just absolutely fearless, beating people, strong arming them. He seems so strong and he just seems so rapid. And the way he runs, once he gets going, you're not catching him. And it was good to see. I can tell there's some decision making and, maybe some knowing when to make the right pass that he probably needs to, develop in his game. Hey, he's 20 years old, no surprise there. But to me, he looks like a shrewd signing, and I'm happy to see him in our ranks and see how he's going to affect the game when he comes on or when he starts. So Madueke was great. Fofana, I've been waiting to see more of Fofana, Fofana hasn't been introduced that quickly. Potter's gone with Havertz game after game. When you've got a recognised striker on the bench who has got all the excitement and all of the willingness to come on and prove himself, but we keep starting with Havertz. It's a really weird one for me. But when he did come on, you could tell like he's active. I felt like he was trying things and he was trying to make things happen. He was thinking differently, and I thought it was decent. He should have probably scored. He went around the keeper, and I felt like if he'd have just had a bit more confidence in the finish, it would have gone in. But it was a good effort nonetheless. But I was happy to see Fofana come on, and I really want to see more of him over the course of 90 minutes. And it really begs the question now with why the selection of some of these players at the moment is starting to be a bit questionable. When you consider ENZO Fernandez and Mikhailo Mudryk were thrown straight in to the deep end, straight in to that starting 11, right? ENZO Fernandez has been there a couple of days. He comes in straight away. Dennis Zakaria has been at Chelsea for I think he was 4 or 5 months until he got a minute of game time. There seems to be something not quite right, and I think it all seems to come down to Graham Potter actually not being the man calling the shots. And of course we know that deep down, but when you start to see it so evident in some of the decisions that are being made on the pitch rather than off it doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well for me, because it just shows me that Potter is being a yes man, adhering to it. You see all the press conferences, and I'm starting to be really disappointed in Graham Potter at the moment, because I haven't seen any glimpses of really what he's bringing to this Chelsea team and what this Chelsea project. I'm not seeing how he's stamping his style of play. You got the three of them, him and his assistant coaches, all talking and mulling it over, like, mid-game, and Potter, like, applauding, like, efforts by some of the players, and, it's all very encouraging from Graham Potter, but I'm not seeing this streak of, like, this is how we need to play, this is not good enough, I expect more from these players, this player, having this direct conversation with some of these players. You're not playing well enough at the moment, and I've got to drop you, I'm afraid. I feel like some of these players are getting away with murder, and the attitudes I'm seeing on the pitch are just not the signs of, they're not really helping us move forward and progress in the table, because we seem to be caught in this midst of players throwing a strop and underperforming but still getting game time. And you've got to take effective action when players are not playing well. Everyone's been calling for Mason Mount to be dropped at this point. Mason Mount is really playing badly. He's not linking up with anyone well. He's doing a lot of stray passes. He's pressing well, as he always does, but it's just not sharp enough. It's not affecting the game in a positive way. And I feel like when he's got the ball in the transition, he's not giving it quick enough, and it seems like he's sort of out for his own reputation, and he's trying to do things to boost his own performances and his own reviews, and it's affecting the team, because I feel like there are many occasions at the moment where the ball is with Mount in the transition and he's making the wrong decision every time. And that's affecting us. And that is why we're not scoring goals, because we're not making that key pass in the final third quick enough. And then on top of that, we've got players that are not able to finish quick enough and have that killer instinct. So it's really, really concerning with Mason Mount. Mark Cucurella, I'm fed up of saying his name. I feel bad talking about him so much, but he's the worst signing of the season across all of Chelsea's signings, across the Premier League, all the signings in the Premier League, put them all together, put all the signings in Europe over the top 5 leagues. I'm telling you, Marc Cucurella is the worst signing. Pound for pound, money spent, performances produced. Cucurella is the worst signing I have seen. I really don't want to be onto him so much. He seems like a nice guy, and I hate to criticise players that play for Chelsea. You know, I never did that with Timo. Like, Timo Werner frustrated me so much, but you could see he was trying, and it just looked like he was just unfortunate most of the times. And you know, at the end of the day, it didn't work out for him. But to me, he is the epitome of someone who tried hard and it just didn't come off for him, and maybe the standard was too high. Cucurella, to me, is like the way he plays, and when things don't come off for him, it's like it's when you don't take accountability. You know, like you're yelling at the referee, you're holding your leg when you're injured, like it was, you know, like you've been tackled, like you've been punched in the face, like you've been studied. You do everything to deflect. That's what I'm trying to say. You're doing everything to deflect your own poor performances, and that is what Cucurella does game after game. Deflects how bad he's playing. I'm literally talking about every single game. Maybe against Liverpool, he had a half-decent game. He tracked Salah well. You know, he took the ball out for a throw-on every now and then. Like, no one managed to get past him. But at the end of the day, like, he's really bringing nothing to this team, and he's a passenger out there. And it's just clear that some players are just holding us back. And to see Ben Chilwell come on was literally like a moment that I feel every Chelsea fan, even in the stadium, you could see it. We've been waiting on for so long, because this Cucurella situation is just getting from bad to worse, and I can't deal with it. I can't deal with seeing him keep playing. Chilwell better be straight into that starting 11 in our next game, and I don't want to see Cucurella come on for more than like 20 minutes from here on out. Like, he does not deserve to be anywhere near that pitch, and I think they need to be thinking about shipping him off ASAP. I can't see him getting any better. Again, I don't see what he brings to the table apart from speed. He's fast, that's it. Anytime he goes in for a 50-50, he loses it. Anytime there's a pass and that needs to be made quick enough, he's too slow. Anytime he needs to run into the space to create an opportunity, he doesn't do it. Anytime we need to move the ball forward, he passes it back and sideways. Safe option. He's out here stealing a living, and I've had enough of it. Can't deal with it anymore. Potter needs to be bold enough to drop him and tell him you are not playing well enough. Doesn't make sense. Conor Gallagher, next on the hit list. Bless him. I've got a soft spot for Conor Gallagher. He clearly wants to do well. He's trying hard, and this is the difference between Gallagher's poor performances and Cucurella's poor performances. Gallagher is trying, and you can see he is taking accountability. He is frustrated, but he just doesn't have the temperament. He doesn't have the temperament to deal with the pressure that we are facing at the moment. He's come to Chelsea at a very difficult time, and I'm just not quite sure he is the tier of player that we can be fielding in that position game after game. I think he's a great player, but I'm just not sure he is going to be able to handle this kind of opponent and the pressure that comes with playing for Chelsea week in, week out. I just find he's a bit slow, and he makes things seem a bit more difficult than they need to be. When he's got space, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He can make the right pass. He can link up with other players well, but it's just really doesn't seem to be the same standard when playing with some of the other players. And I just think Gallagher, again, I'm not sure of his Chelsea future. It's half a season. Am I being too harsh? Maybe. I'm just not sure. But to me, Gallagher needs to be given more time to grow into this Chelsea team. And Potter is throwing him in there, and he's not producing, and he needs to be dropped. Like, Gallagher doesn't need to be anywhere near that starting 11. It's as simple as that. You've got to give a huge credit to Fulham, who pretty much nullified that game. They were so well drilled. They were so structured. Tete was unbelievable. Robinson was unbelievable. And it just looked like they were well up for the challenge, and they weren't phased. And at the end of the day, this is a derby game. This is the West London derby game. This is the Chelsea-Fulham derby. And they were more up for it. They had the more grit and determination to get a win out of that game. I've never heard Fulham fans so loud. I can't believe it. Like, they're having a stellar season, and they played really well. Credit to Silva. Credit to everyone on that pitch, from Reed to Robinson to Tete to Cordova Reed. They're all very, very shrewd players that knew what to do and knew how to frustrate us. And their midfield was like a wall, and we didn't have to keep. Like, we were unable to get round it. We were unable to affect it, even with all our creativity and all of our exciting players. And I thought at Stamford Bridge it would be a different case. I must say I was quietly confident about this game. I thought we would come out of a win. I thought we would overpower them. But Fulham really played it well, and that's the thing. The more the game goes on, and Chelsea haven't scored around the 50th, 60th minute mark, we don't look like we will score. I made a lot of points in this video, and there's a lot to unpack. This has been a crazy whirlwind season. This has been an insane transfer window again. Graham Potter coming in, Tuchel coming out. There's been a lot to sort of get used to and a lot of changes that have happened. And Bowley has done everything he can with his wallet to try and improve Chelsea. But I have to say that I am starting to really see how this problem, these poor performances, are not going to change with Graham Potter. And I don't think now that this is a take that I'm making too early. There's a lot of talk about give him the time. This is a project. Things are going to improve. Everything needs to gel. He hasn't had time. There's been a World Cup break, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I can't fault those points. All of those points are right. But you know what points are also right? I haven't seen what Potter has brought to this team yet. I haven't seen any real signs that Graham Potter is taking action on some of these players and disciplining them and making the tough decisions. Graham Potter is pleasing everyone, and it's not pleasing the fans. He just seems too agreeable. Guys, if you did manage to stay this long, thank you very much. I know that this video had very little structure and I sort of just went on a tangent, but there are just so many things going on at the moment with this Chelsea team, and it was hard to make sense of it and put it in a clear structure. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with anything I said? Do you disagree with anything I said? Please, all conversation is welcomed. If you like this video, that would be a massive help. It really helps me out. Leave a comment. I really want to know what you thought. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It's great to get some support so I can slowly build and make more content. And yeah, I'm sort of flabbergasted with that result last night and how underwhelming it was. But we move on, and I'll be making some more videos to sort of unpack everything that just happened. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great weekend. In a bit.